Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Maria and I make content based on Christian faith-based religion, and I find different ways to intertwine biblical scriptures and biblical stories and biblical characters into our everyday lives and different lifestyle lessons that we can learn from them. So if you haven't already, I've already made a couple videos previously regarding Ruth, the book of Ruth, and the story of the book of Ruth, and give a full synopsis, especially in my first video regarding Ruth this week. But I wanted to continue on with the different lessons that I have been learning in the book of Ruth. So as I've already said, if you would like to just go back to those previous videos, I go into different points that we are able to apply to our lives, as well as go into detail about the story as a whole. But I am just going to go ahead and give a brief synopsis of the story of Ruth. And so ultimately, Ruth is a daughter-in-law of Naomi, and Ruth's husband ended up passing away. And Naomi was telling Ruth and her other daughter-in-law to go on your way. I really cannot bear any more children at this moment that will be appropriate for you, and I don't expect you to have to wait to allow me to have more kids and you marry them and things like that. So Naomi is telling both Ruth and her other daughter-in-law, Orpah, to go ahead and live their lives. But Orpah goes ahead, but Ruth decides to stay with her mother-in-law. And so she goes back to her homeland with her, and she decides to work. Ruth decides to work while she's there, and she meets Boaz, and she's working in his field and all those things. And there's already a few points that I have already went over, as far as number one, the comfort zone lesson that we can take away from Ruth's story. And then the second one was us diligently working and the benefits that comes from hard work and putting in all your efforts and everything in your work, and seeing just the blessings that come from that. So today's message is going to be about the reminders that God gives to us, and specifically the reminders that God gives to us even through other people. And so when Ruth went on and she worked for Boaz, and I hope I'm saying his name right, I believe it's Boaz, but she went on to work for Boaz, and she really stood out to Boaz. And Boaz asked his young servant, hey, who is this woman? What's her story? What's she about? And the young servant goes on to kind of explain, who she is. She is the daughter-in-law of Naomi, and she hasn't barely take any break from her work on the field. But here she is, she's showing up, and that really stood out to Boaz. And so in this moment, once Boaz saw Ruth's hard work, her dedication, all those things, then she was given special treatment. Boaz really looked out for her. He told everybody to make it really easy on her, give her the easy parts of the job, because he really respected the fact that she came to a place where she really didn't know anyone. So she came out of her comfort zone, and she also worked diligently. She didn't care about who was watching her and who was not watching her. She put in her hard work and her efforts, and it really came out well for her. And then now here she is. She's done all that. She's received that special treatment. And then this is where we are led to today's message, where Naomi actually says to her, which you'll see pop up right here in Ruth 2:20-21. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, why, God bless that man. God hasn't quite walked out on us after all. He still loves us in bad times as well as good. And this one for me was just that reminder, the fact that God reminds us that He is still with us, and to not give up hope. And even when times feel bad, even when times feel rough, even during the good times and even during the bad times, Naomi has that revelation herself, and she's like, wow, God is really still with us. And it really has nothing per se to do with her. She's just happy for her daughter-in-law for being blessed by Boaz, and her hard work and the blessings that God has been able to provide to her because she's been hardworking and because she got out of her comfort zone. And this was just like a revelation for Naomi. And it also was one for myself where I said, wow, we can always remember that God is there for us during the good times and during the bad times. The other thing that I learned from this is that sometimes when it seems like you have nothing left, God will show you that there's still hope and there's still things to appreciate during this season of your life. So Naomi, she lost her kid. She literally called herself the bitter one, which I will talk about that in the next video. But she really called herself the bitter one, and she really was just feeling down and out. You know, she lost everything. She really was at that place where she just felt like, you know what, it's time for me to just go back to my homeland. I really don't have anything else. I'm really not full of life anymore. But she was able to still be able to see God and his works and his blessings through her daughter-in-law, Ruth. So I can say for myself, the way that I have been able to apply this scripture to my own life is during the times right now, even in this very moment where it seems like things are happening left and right. I mean, I have things happening within myself, different journeys and different things that I'm just trying to figure out in my own life. And then, you know, I have things that has happened with my family members and the obstacles that they're facing, that they come to me and they talk to me about, and me just hearing all those things. And I just kind of feel like, oh, everything is literally coming at one thing at another. But then you get that small inkling of good news, and that good news just brightens your day. And so I just want to encourage anyone who just feels like, you know, things are not happening for me right now, and there's really just nothing good happening, there's no good news around. Try to find that small thing, or that thing that seems so small, and really magnify it, and just be able to see in that time where God has been working. And I really find that for me personally, that has helped me to be able to move along during my path, move along during my journey to this new adjustment that I'm going to have to make within my life, and learning different things that's happening within my family and the hardships that they're going through and all those things. I'm still able to find those joyous moments that are helping me along. And so I just encourage anybody else who may be going through rough times, those are the moments that you should really magnify and really see, okay, God, you're still here. You're still here with us, and we can rest in knowing that. So that's really all for me for today's message. I really hope that this has been helpful for you. Now it's your turn. Be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know the different things that, you know, you've been able to see God still moving and God still working in your life. I mean, there are times where you may have thinking that God has forgotten about you, and you're wondering, God, where are you at? God, you know, I was so full of life. I had so much stuff happening at this time. And then next thing you know, everything has just kind of disappeared, and I feel like I have nothing left. Give me some examples of, and some encouragement of, different ways that you have been able to see the joyous moments, and even the things that may not seem that big, but it's just been helping you along in your journey. I promise you that your story or your thing will be an encouragement to others, and I will be down in the comments below as well responding. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.